Hello everyone. This is our weekly broadcast where we discuss everything that's going on in SEO and AI worlds. Actually, I guess we should start saying it's one world. It overlaps so much. It's usually you cannot discuss one without discussing the other. So it is AI plus SEO live broadcast bringing you what is happening and what to do about that. We try to make them very, very actionable. I'm Anne Smarty. I have been in SEO for 20 years. I have seen for more than 20 years at this point. I have seen it all, all the updates, all the Google algorithm developments, maturing. Now I'm watching LLMs going through pretty much the same. And it is really exciting to watch, but I don't claim to have all the answers for sure. If you have any questions and you don't know how to navigate that or where to move from there or what to prioritize, please get in touch. I have a very handy option on my website. You can schedule a free 15-minute call, no strings attached. We'll just chat and I'll be as helpful as I can. I do that every day of my work week. With me today and always April, and I forgot to mention that I'm also the co-founder of Smarty.marketing. This is where you find the option to get in touch with me. Smarty.marketing, April, our director of social, as well as many creative roles that she also has with us. We are still in very much startup mode, so we give her a lot of cool tasks, and sometimes she makes them up as well, which we are very thankful for, but not an SEO. April is not an SEO, so she will be asking questions that are not as technical, as deep as I live in SEO more than half of my life. So it is very useful to have someone who does not. We will please ask your questions wherever you're watching us from. We broadcast to LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Facebook, and we should be able to see your comments or questions wherever you post them, and we will try to cover them. It's a quick broadcast. We will not take much of your time, but we do broadcast every week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. EST. Please join us and subscribe in smarty.com. This is where I'm announcing weekly topics that we're going to discuss on Wednesday. So you will have much more context. And I also make sure to list some tools, references, and make those very useful as well. So, and smarty.com. We will discuss the hottest topic of this week, just happened on Monday, in a minute. Before that, just a couple of cool updates from our industry in case you are lost in those. I'm here to bring you the most important ones. First of all, I already mentioned that, I guess, last week, Google's spam update is done rolling out as of last week. Check your clicks in Search Console. It did coincide with some other things happening, so do not pay attention to impressions and average position as much. Look at your clicks in Search Console to see if anything has happened between, I think it was August 20th and September 20th. So between that window, if you see some dips in traffic, that could have been spam update. Spam updates are penalizing. You cannot gain rankings or gain visibility through those updates. If you do see your traffic increase, that is possibly your competitor got hit and you are replacing that visibility for them, which is also useful to know. Check your competitors as well. Spam updates are not that hard to recover from. We do have guidelines. The most common reasons are doorway pages. This is when you create very similar page for all kinds of keywords. kind of reminds me of Panda update. Back, it happened more than 15 years ago, when we had separate pages targeting very similar keywords. That still exists, and sometimes for good reasons. For example, how do you create a very unique page for your keyword in every location that you are servicing or where you're selling? Not easy. I have to deal with those cases and come up with different solutions for each of my audits. Never easy, because it is definitely something that unless you have a page for that location, you may never rank. And if you want a page for each location, that's what they call doorway pages. That's doorway for SEO traffic. Google considers that as spam tactic unless you approach that creatively and make sure all those pages are different and useful, which is something I'm again dealing with a lot. This is a very common reason for the spam update. And now is another common reason is backlinks, but usually Google has separate update for links. Unless they call it link update, I would not look too much at your backlinks. And there are also other small reasons, like over optimization sometimes is a suspected reason for the update. Anyways, if you fix the reasons, you don't have to wait for the next spam update to recover. Usually before that this update, the previous one happened a year ago. You don't have to wait that much. You can recover within a few months. So if you saw any impact from that update, act now. In other news, which I think is pretty cool, and I would even say alarming, is that last week, someone, I couldn't track, and I didn't care much tracking the original source, but someone posted an article about the prospective update. That's the fake update. Never happened. Google never had any prospective updates. The article describes it as something focusing on EEAT or something like that. Funny thing is that LLMs picked up on that article, and actually it was syndicated and copied on some more blogs, and now telling us that that update is real. So if you ask ChatGPT about prospective Google update, ChatGPT will confidently cite the date, the reason, how to recover, when it starts rolling out, and all of that. It is all fake, but the funny thing that I think the most alarming one is how easy it is still to manipulate LLMs into thinking something is true. You can invent pretty much anything. What is written online, LLMs think is actually real, and that is pretty that is the end, maybe the end of our civilization or the world for sure, because in the wrong hands, that can be very dangerous. So for us, one takeaway here, they are very easy to manipulate. For users, for anyone who is using ChatGPT or other LLMs for research, content creation, brainstorming, analyzing of data, think about that they still hallucinate, they still make things up, and sometimes rely on very unreliable sources. So check everything they respond. Search Google and find original sources, try to verify, fact check, all of that. So with that, I'll quickly switch to the hottest topic of the week. And this is something I have been predicting for, I don't even remember how long, definitely a year. It is buy-in ChatGPT feature. Remember when I was first explaining the difference between GEO and SEO and why there is so fewer clicks with GEO is because AI agents, LLMs, are running searches, are doing research on customers' behalf. So instead of spending 2 weeks trying to figure out which shoes you need for running in a rainy weather, ChatGPT, AI mode, Gemini can make that research within 1 minute without you ever clicking anything. And they will give you the comparison, the price comparison, the review comparison, or list everything they could find about pros and cons for each option. And you can make a very informed decision without making any clicks. This is the difference between optimizing for AI agents and optimizing for search engines, because search engines are still very user driven. People actually click, they have the buying journey, and that buying journey can take days or weeks, at least hours, and a lot of clicks. Now it's all done within a minute. But at that point, when I was talking about, I said that we are a few months away when you will not even have to click the product page to buy. Because at some point, ChatGPT will have all the necessary integrations to allow people to buy right from that answer, just clicking the buy button. This is now what has happened. The new buy from ChatGPT feature allows supported merchants to allow those buy now opportunities for the customers, for the consumers. What it means for us, and pretty obviously, we will lose even more clicks. We don't know how people will react to that for sure. Knowing how much trust many of people have in ChatGPT, I would just assume that if they have buy now button, they will be more motivated to buy instead of going outside of ChatGPT. It may be even the competitive advantage for you if you adopt that earlier. So again, no research, that just my assumption. It could be influencing buying decisions even in more ways than we can predict, because we know that many people trust ChatGPT without asking any questions. Going back to how easy it is to manipulate ChatGPT, it is even more scary. But in any ways, we don't know. But again, there will be less clicks because now people do not even have to search for a brand or to open the product page that was suggested. How does that work? There are two supported platforms that if you have your website hosted or with that platform, you do not have to do anything to integrate in ChatGPT by it now. First of all, it's Etsy, and Shopify, I think, is around the corner. I'm not sure it's active yet. It says that they will soon be supporting Shopify. ChatGPT is promising us to extend that number of partnerships, and they are continuously working on that to make it easier for more and more merchants to join the program. But that also there is an open source platform that you can use to integrate the buy it buttons to your products. It is connected with Stripe. Again, congratulations to Stripe. We were earlier users of Stripe, and it's exciting to see that they now have such a huge partnership with ChatGPT, which is also sounds like exclusive. They only use Stripe to process all those payments. So where you can use your product feeds and the open source platform from ChatGPT to integrate your shop with that feature. I understand that not many have the development teams for that, so you are either on Shopify, you will be easier for you, or you will have to wait till your solution, your platform is supported as well. Or I imagine there will be lots and lots of services to integrate your website with this new feature. I hope that it will be successful, and I will tell you why. Yes, we will be losing traffic. Yes, we will be losing clicks to our product pages. And in some cases, they will definitely result in fewer, in like lower, cheaper purchases, because they will only see one product of yours, and you will not see related products. They will not go to your site and get motivated to buy more. Possibly it's a bad news. It's possibly, especially at the beginning, but it's still early ages of that, some e-commerce sites will see some lost opportunities for that as well. But I think there are many reasons to consider this a good move from ChatGPT and overall for all whole industry. First of all, it shows that ChatGPT is finally willing to work with businesses. So we will have a new symbiosis, like new balance built there. Instead of just doing whatever they want, stealing whatever content they need, they are working now with businesses. They're providing open source solutions. They are providing easy integrations. They are charging. I think that is mostly transaction fees, but I think a little bit of that is also their income. So they will be invested and interesting in promoting that program and getting more and more merchants and businesses join. So it is the beginning of those platforms working with businesses. From experience, I know that Google, when it was interested in working with businesses, was very SEO friendly, and they worked with us much better than they do now. They provided all the transparency. They helped to recover. They had dedicated forums and teams working with us. They were invested in working with SEOs, because SEOs were people, and they still are, translating everything they said to businesses. They would enroll many businesses to ads programs, to all of that, to actually help Google grow. If that is what is happening now with ChatGPT. And I think this is the beginning of a very exciting time when finally ChatGPT will be interested. There will be their financial interest in being friendly to businesses, explaining them what they need to be doing, what they did wrong, how to get more visibility. They will probably at some point monetize this shopping experience. At this point, I mean, more that there will be maybe related ads or whatever. And that will definitely come with some tools helping us understand that visibility and analyze what we've done right and how or wrong and what we need to be doing. So it is, in my mind, there are many reasons to think this is the beginning of the new business-friendly ChatGPT. This is what we have been waiting for 2 years. I'm actually very excited about this, and I've been looking forward to something like that, when LLMs will not be just doing whatever they want, but they will be actually interested in collaborating with businesses that can have some integrations into the system. In other news, I'm happy that ChatGPT was the first to pioneer in answer buying. I know Google was trying, AI mode, Google was trying to do that with ads. They are testing ads inside answers, which is, in my mind, old school of monetizing AI answers, because no one clicks anything there. So I don't see that to be a success. I think what ChatGPT is doing is much smarter, much more innovative, not exactly completely new. There are shopping feeds and search results. There is Instagram shops where you can buy right from Instagram using your Apple card or any card that's connected to Apple Wallet. So it is not like absolutely new, and it was well expected. We saw that coming for many months. Again, it was just took a little bit more time than I expected that to take. But it is here. I would suggest, if you have an e-commerce site, figure out how to integrate, buy it from ChatGPT right now, because you want to be ahead of the game. It is not good enough to reuse your existing shopping feeds for sure, product feeds for sure, because think about different ways people can discover your products. It's not keywords anymore. There will be long prompts discussing their problems. Maybe something will come up in conversations. So you need to make your product feeds much more conversational. Like I think ChatGPT allows like 5,000 characters in the feed product description for every product. Use as much as you can describing what it is good for. If it's good for rainy weather, it's good for snow, which material it is using. There are solutions and tools that can help you check out nsmarty.com. I found two that optimize product feeds and make them more descriptive, including titles, descriptions, all of that, including so they optimize based on your specs, based on your even product images. So it is something to really think about seriously how we want our product feeds to look for that. It's again, most product feeds that I've seen for Google are not even good enough for Google because they are very limited. You have the model name, you have the color, and you have the brand, the manufacturer, and maybe shipping terms. That's it. It is definitely not enough for ChatGPT because that's a different behavior. People are not searching ChatGPT, they're solving their problems. So they may start with something like, my ankle hurts. And ChatGPT would be like, well, try new shoes. And then the conversation will be like, okay, which shoes should I try? And ChatGPT may ask, okay, are you man or woman? How you use your shoes? And they're like, I run. What weather is it there when you run? It's usually rainy. I'm in upstate New York. And at only that point, ChatGPT may suggest products. And the only products that will be suggested will be exactly that meet all those criteria. They're friendly for I don't know, they're high ankle, they're lightweight so good enough for running. They have support of the ankle, that has good reviews. It's also mentioned in the reviews, possibly. This is the price. This is if you can return them and when. So all of that information should be very easily accessible inside your product feeds that you're going to use for ChatGPT. That is the news for today. Again, nsmarty.com, the latest episode, does have some suggestions as to tools you can use to optimize your shopping feeds, but I would definitely start, if not Etsy or Shopify, I would start with figuring out how to even integrate that feature, because being an early adopter is very, very good and very, very puts you ahead of the game right there. So I would, if I were an e-commerce owner, that's the first thing I would do, is to consider getting into that program. With that, I hope I cleared up something that happened last week, and I'm ready for questions if you have any, or just notes or your own thoughts about that. I know April has a couple of questions, but if you have any, please ask.
We had this question from Lisa earlier, but I think it was in regards to I don't remember what it was.
Why only clicks? I think I know what it is about. Why only clicks and not impressions? That goes, I think, Lisa, please correct me if I'm wrong, it goes back to when I mentioned double checking your performance data in Search Console after the spam update and see if you have something going on there. And at that point, I said, don't pay too much attention to impressions and focus on clicks. What happened also during that update was that Google canceled the support for num equals 100 URL parameter. That helped scrapers load 100 results per page and then basically scrape them. All SEMrush, Ahrefs, all of those were using that URL parameter to actually report on rankings, but obviously ChatGPT, all of those other agents were using that as well to actually search Google and find information. Now, none of them can access anything but page one. So the impressions for everything that ranks past page one dropped. So we see much fewer impressions because actually those were not human impressions but bot impressions, and they cannot, crawlers cannot access those URLs and actually view them. So you will see a lot fewer impressions, and don't assume that is because of the spam update. Clicks were not as much impacted by that change as impressions and average position. Average position relies on impressions. It is not reported unless someone saw that URL. There is no average position. So let's say your average position was 15. That's page number 2. Very few people ever go to page 2. So your impressions were like huge because of the bot impressions, but now it will be much lower. Some people will never see page 2, especially for some specific low volume queries. So now you don't have that keyword at all in your report because no one sees that. Bots do not see that, people do not see that, so the average position is none. There is no such a query. So average position was impacted as well. And that happened during the spam update. So when you go to your reports in Search Console, pay attention just to clicks and nothing else, because all of the other metrics were messed up during the spam update. So I don't want you to get scared and like, oh my God, something is going on. My impressions dropped. I might have been impacted by spam update. No, it wasn't spam update. It was another thing that happened in our very news heavy industry. You're muted.
I know. Do you think that like reviews will be a factor in how often products are suggested by the new ChatGPT shopping?
I'm pretty sure. Definitely take a look at your product pages and make sure reviews are accessible. I would just, many of the reviews are hiding behind JavaScript. We still don't know how ChatGPT is handling that. So if you have reviews on your product pages, make sure that you have average rankings, number of reviews on your product page for sure, but also look at the page itself, because ChatGPT will likely be looking at reviews when suggesting products. That's what they're doing now. That's what Google does as well, but we were not as much worried about Google. It can crawl and can work with JavaScript much better than ChatGPT. So whenever you can, some of the solutions have summaries, like Amazon does, summaries of reviews, like what are the pros, what are the cons. Make sure those summaries are in HTML so that you better can. It's very easy to access, doesn't take any time at all. Maybe include those pros and cons based on reviews in the product descriptions as well. I'm sure that will be helpful because ChatGPT will not even have to go to your page and will access that right from the product feed. So it will take a lot of experimentation and optimization of product fits, I'm sure, to get to a point when we know it works. So everything I'm saying is pretty much an assumption based on how it is likely to work and based on the experience of how Google did that, how it is usually done, but of course, no actual experience yet. But I would assume that reviews will be a big part of that for sure. We know ChatGPT loves user-generated content. It actually is trained to learn from user-generated content as much as it can because they want to give people what people want. So they want to speak human language to us. So for just about any search, ChatGPT refers to Reddit, refers to any other user-generated content it can. On-page reviews as well. So make sure it is all accessible and very easily accessible. I'm sure that will be a big advantage if you manage to make it easy for ChatGPT to access that information.
think we have time for another one, or
Yeah, let's do a quick one. If there are
just
any. Mhm.
any quick tips for merchants to get their products suggested more often by ChatGPT?
Yes. I don't have any any firsthand experience with that feature yet. I would assume that if that were me, let's say my e-commerce site is not on Shopify, my first thing would be to figure out how to get into the program, and my second task would be definitely optimizing my product feeds, because ChatGPT, knowing how ChatGPT saves resources as much as it can, because it's very resourceful. For every prompt, for every answer it gives, it spends a lot of electricity. We all know that. So the only way to make anything ChatGPT friendly is to make it extremely easy to access. Don't make it work, because it will likely give up on you. So optimize, make your titles, product titles and product descriptions very detailed, but not fluffy. Do not do like amazing, beautiful. Not that, of course. All the specs, all the use cases. Again, maybe a good idea would be based on the reviews. This is what it is for, best used for. Mention that. Who knows? Maybe ChatGPT will pick up on that and not do any additional research to save on resources. So make it very easy for ChatGPT to access all the information, and do not make it, again, descriptive. No descriptions. Do not distract its attention. Make sure you have use cases, best for running in rainy weather, as factual as you can. The weight, the material, all of that is very important, because I'm sure ChatGPT knows which material is best for which use cases at this point. So if you have material in product feed, it definitely will be helpful for appearing in more prompts. With that, I hope that was helpful. I hope you feel my enthusiasm about this topic. Please join us next Wednesday. I have no idea what we're going to discuss, because something happens every week. So whatever happens between now and next Wednesday, we will be discussing and making it more actionable than it is usually discussed, because we are very action driven, and we are trying to be very helpful as well. Thank you so much. Please post any questions on social media so that we can answer them afterwards. Subscribe nsmarty.com and have a great week. Thank you so much for joining us today.